This isn't going to be a real conversation. I'm going to act like a jackass the entire time. And there's nothing you can do about it. I think Cambridge made the right choice. I'm sorry. I'll behave, I promise.
So, on your podcast, you talk...
Wow, what an energy drop. No, it's not your fault. You went right into conversational tone. I had just said we were going to free all of the peoples of the world and get rid of Starbucks coffee, and then we went into the podcast. There's no easy ramp from one to the other. But let's get into it, the podcast.
You talk a lot about the journey of becoming a professional comedian.
Yeah.
And when was it that you realized that that was what you wanted to do?
Well, when I was a kid, I loved I come from a big Irish Catholic family, 6 kids, I believe, there's others out there. You'd meet a new one occasionally in the bathroom. And I was packed in the middle, and I used to make my brothers and sisters laugh, and then I made other kids at school laugh, but I never thought it was a profession. I grew up in Brookline, Massachusetts, right outside Boston. Don't pretend. And I thought, you can't be in show business. I didn't know anybody in show business. My father is a brilliant man. He's a microbiologist, infectious disease scientist, and my mother is a brilliant woman and was a lawyer for a big law firm. And I just thought my job was to buckle down and be serious. So I was always fighting this nature and thinking, you can't do that for a living, you have to be serious. So I worked hard, and again, I just thought comedy was something you did for your friends. And then my life changed when I went to what we consider an old university, Harvard. It's so hilarious that we are so proud of the fact that Harvard's like 1638. And then you come here and they have McDonald's that are that old. And now I live in Los Angeles, where sometimes people will come and look at your house, they'll come and fix, because something's wrong with the basement, and they'll say they're here to fix it, and they'll be, oh man, you got one of these old houses. They built this during Obama's first term, huh? So I've had to, I went to Harvard, and I had worked really hard, and I was a serious student, and the second I got there, a friend of mine said, I'm off to the Lampoon, and I said, what's that? Like an idiot, and he said, it's the College Humor magazine, and I said, well, I'll tag along. And I got addicted. I slept there, I lived there, it became my life, running the place. It was very evocative of this place. It was it's this old hall, it's got these old traditions, many famous writers and cartoonists have come there. Now, of course, a lot of the TV shows you watch or have seen have been written or produced by Lampoon people. It's really a wonderful, amazing place, and I'm not saying this because of your connection there, but it really did feel like my Hogwarts experience when I went there. I worked very hard, I got accepted, I was 18 years old, and I just said, whatever this is, I'm throwing in my lot with these people. And that would have been 1981 when I was accepted, and since that day I've been thinking and breathing comedy pretty much 24/7 since then, and that changed my life. When I graduated college in '85, I thought, how do I keep doing this? I need to keep doing this. Even if I don't make money doing this, I have to do this. And fortunately, it turns out it does pay. And then I got my own show, and now I'm here. So it feels miraculous to me. I'm very, people overuse the word grateful in my business. They say I'm really grateful when deep down inside they're total assholes and they're not grateful. But I really am. I do feel. I'm a really good guy, and that's something good guys say. But no, it's been just a really great journey, and my favorite thing is connecting. So I don't care how I do it, but not that long ago, someone came to me and said, you should do a podcast. And I said, why would I do a podcast when I have a TV show that's been on forever and it's on YouTube, and they said, I think you might like it. And I really thought it was a stupid idea. And I started doing it, and I can't tell you, I can go anywhere in the world and people listen to the podcast very differently than they watch a show. They get to know you, and you can, I've had so many friends of mine who I called up and asked, they're very unself-conscious. Lisa Kudrow, when I asked her, do you want to do the podcast? She said, no hair, no makeup, I'll be there in 10 minutes. They really do love the fact that they don't have to pretend to be someone else. And then you can have this incredibly powerful conversation with them, and you can get to things that you could never do in television. I have to make you'd have had to take 2 commercial breaks by now if this was on television. Seriously, for horrible products. But here you don't, in this podcast format, you can attain this kind of connection you can't attain any other way. So I absolutely love it, and I love the friends. I mean, in that short time, the couple of days that I've been here in London and then here, I've had so many people come up to me, people that have no idea I'm coming here, say, oh, I love the podcast. The podcast is meaningful to me. And so that's lovely.
And you've been on air for decades. What do you do to keep the show fun for you?
Fun for me?
Yeah.
We fire people. You should see the look on their faces. These are people with children. They have mortgages. And I'm like Caligula at this point. I'm like, I'm firing you and hiring my horse, and so that's fun. I would say one of the challenges with anything is, and everybody has this issue, I don't care who you are, whatever your field is, you've got to keep it fresh for yourself. For me, I think I've been fortunate that I've been forced to reinvent it many times. The initial show was one show that then gradually morphed into a slicker, more polished show. It started in '93. I think it got a little more polished around 2001, 2002. And then it morphed into The Tonight Show, and I went out for that, but that all blew up because I got into a big argument with my network, and I ended up forced to redecide who I was. And it was a huge story in America, and I had to figure out, okay, who am I now, and start again on a different network. And that has gone through about 2 revolutions. So, and now we've changed the format again to half hour, because I started looking at my hour-long show and looking at how it's represented on YouTube, which is how most people see it and should see it. Comedy, first guest that you want to see, second guest you don't care about, third guest you don't care about. And I hate to say that to the second and third guests of the world, but I decided I'm too long in the tooth, I've been doing it too long. I don't want to say it was great talking to you, now we're going to stick around for that guy who's 19 and he just got on a show where he plays a brooding teenager. He's never had a life experience. His big disappointment in life is they didn't have the Porsche in the color gray he wanted, and I'm supposed to pretend to care about him. So I couldn't do that anymore. So we just shoved it down to a half hour, and then I talked to one person. Here's Will Ferrell. I have a great time talking to him. We do much more than half an hour for the studio audience, and we put all of it on YouTube because there's no time restraint there. And then we cut it down to half an hour for Turner and Warner Brothers. So to me, that feels like that's how shows should be made now. I'm not saying my compatriots are in the dark ages, but well, come on, do the math, you know what I'm saying? No one drinks here, I don't get it, but anyway.
You also talk a lot about wanting your comedy to be evergreen, so someone can watch a skit 20 years from now.
Yeah, my favorite comedy is, right now in the States, as I'm sure you're all aware, people are very angry, and so I almost feel like comedy has gone in 2 completely directions. There are people that have been, it's all about politics. The entire show is politics. And so when you see the roundup for what they talked about, it's blank took down Donald Trump today. So-and-so roasted, this person in the administration. It's all that, and some of it's very clever and very good, but it's all that. And then there's another kind of comedy which is completely escapist. Let's play games, let's have fun. And then I feel like I just found my own thing that I like, which is really silly comedy that I've been doing since 1993, where I'm doing the show and maybe someone interrupts me and it's an old coal miner in the audience. And then we have an adventure together, and it doesn't make any sense. I love comedy that just makes me laugh and is silly. And then I think one of the things that's nice is I have people your age coming up to me now and they're saying, "Oh, I just saw that thing last night where you were, God only knows, you got on a bicycle and you drove up a caramel mountain and you visited God. And those are the things you talk about when you invite me. And you want to talk economics? We'll do that next time, but this is what you get." But it was just the silliness of it and the craziness of it that I love so much. And so we're still finding people that come back and see those old sketches and really like them. And I like them because you don't have to know. It's not comedy that goes bad 24 hours after you make it, because the outrage over that decision to cut that is always good comedy.
So, like you said, you don't react to political and current affairs as much as other.
Well, we do. We do if we have a good, silly, fun idea, but I try not to live off of it exclusively, you know? I try to, so everyone has their own way of doing these things. There's not a right way, there's not a wrong way. There's just, the most important thing I say to people who are interested in doing what I do for a living is do the stuff that you are passionate about. And I've always been passionate about silliness, and the stuff that influenced me. I was very influenced by English comedy growing up. I loved Monty Python. I loved Blackadder. I loved The Young Ones. I would watch all these shows, and then I saw the British Office came out, and I just love that those are still funny now. They're talking about universal themes, you know, and to me, that's the kind of comedy that I love. It's completely silly, and it's dealing with human situations rather than here's what happened in the news today, which I admire. I think it's really great. I just don't think that's my skill set.
And something else that you always come back to is that really successful people are often a lot more insecure about their work than we would expect them to be.
Yeah.
How does that work for you?
Well, I'm not, but just blessed, I suppose. No, it's actually it's really important to me. If you leave with no other little, if you leave with nothing else today or tonight, leave with this. We have a culture that's constantly looking at our phones at people that we think are so incredibly happy and have everything. And I will tell you for a fact, the disparity, the difference between what they're projecting and how they are is monumental a lot of the time. It's not that these people are all miserable, but I do think we're this Instagram age and this age of projecting wealth and fame and what's this incredible fun that you can have. There's a lot of people out there that strive because they're insecure. They try harder because they're running from something or they're very unhappy. It's not the only reason they're successful, but it's a mixed bag. And when you get successful, there's some unpleasant stuff that comes with it. And there's dealing with envy, and there's dealing with schadenfreude, and there's dealing with other people's expectations that you're always going to be that person. And I wouldn't trade my life for anyone else's in the world. I'm very happy, but I do think I've seen so many people in my profession, American performers, actors, comedians, who I wouldn't want to be in a million years. They're unhappy people. And there's a lot of unhappy people, just as there are everywhere. And I think we get this bad read. We're only seeing this very flattened out image of them laughing and driving a sports car, and we think, if I had that, all my problems would be solved. And I remember thinking that, when I was first starting out in the business, if I had what these people had, then I would have no problems. And that's why I really do try to tell people that you've got to enjoy what you do. You have to enjoy it. There's so many people that want to be famous for fame's sake, and fame is nothing. I mean, it is just a clear broth. I just encourage people to look twice at that and say, I do what I do because I really do enjoy it. I really do like making this kind of stuff, and I felt like I had some facility for it, but I never enjoyed the brief periods of time that that someone on the paparazzi has wanted to take a picture of me. It just felt creepy. It felt, and they eventually realized I'm the most boring person in the world, and that their pictures of Conan O'Brien goes and buys 2% milk again, wearing sensible outfit with dad bod was like not selling, you know? I had a funny experience here a couple of years ago. I was in London and a friend, I didn't know this place, but a friend said to me, join me for dinner. And I said, okay. And he said, I'm at the Chiltern Firehouse. I didn't know what that was, but I guess it's this place where a lot of stars go. What's that? You don't go there all the time?
I don't know.
Well, okay, clearly I've just made a fool of myself in front of everyone. But there was this place in London, this restaurant where the paparazzi would hang out in front. We have them in LA, and you go there if you want your picture taken. I didn't know that. So I just go in, and then I eat my dinner, and I come out, and it's all these people from all these UK paparazzi with the giant, you know. And they walk out, and I think one guy sort of knew me and took a picture, so they all started taking pictures, and there was like 40 people just firing away photos. And so I did this, you know. And then I started to walk away, and they all put their cameras down, and one of them said, hey, who the fuck are you? I said, this is true. I said, I'm a male model from Germany. But I love that they took a picture of me, didn't know who I was, and they were yelling at me, essentially because I wasn't famous enough, you know? It was just such a weird dynamic. I had wasted their time. So.
On another note, following on from that.
There was no transition there at all. We're going to have to edit that for YouTube. We'll put something else in there, you know? Maybe some rock music or something. AC/DC.
What's your attitude?
What's what?
What's your attitude to criticism of your work? Do you try to seek it out, or are you someone who tries to?
No, I do not seek out criticism of my work. No. You know, that's one of the things that always surprises me is I've had guests come on the show, very famous people, and they've confided in me, after my last appearance, people said this about me or said that. I actually had a guest come on my show and in the commercial break say to me, last time I was on, people were saying, this was a man, people were saying that I had had terrible plastic surgery, and it really hurt my feelings. And there is something in this new world that you're all dealing with. I'm quite comfortable not knowing what people say about me. People have said and my deal that I made with myself is I don't want to read the bad stuff, and so I won't read the good stuff. And I'm told there's been some really nice things written in some really nice publications, and I just say, that's nice to hear, and people give me this sort of gist of what it is, but I don't want to read it. Because if I read that, then I feel I have to go looking for, well, I hate him, you know, his hair looks like a ridiculous pastry, you know. My father wrote that. I don't want to, you know, and I that's one of the questions that I have is when people start looking for, it is in my nature. I will find the unsmiling face in the crowd and wonder, what was his problem? Why wasn't he having a good time? And that is classic. All comedians do that. But as you get older, you learn, I know what it is I do. I have really good friends, and my friends tell me, that wasn't great, or that was funny, that wasn't so funny. I would change that. I mean, I write a tweet and I say, what do you think? And I have interns in the office saying, nope, it's bad. And I listen to them. I listen to other people. And sometimes I get into arguments with people. I think, really? Because I think this is a good idea. But I try not to have an ego about it. And so people usually let me know when I've missed the mark. I'll know. So I don't need a random person, who's, or a troll to tell me that I suck, because deep down I know that. That's not funny. You should feel sad now.
You mentioned taking on board the advice of your interns, and part of what makes your show stand out is your relationship with your staff and how that's woven into so many episodes.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious production choice, or was it something that happened spontaneously?
There's the most famous, he was completely unknown in the UK, but the most famous talk show host of all time in America was this guy named Johnny Carson, who I grew up watching. He was brilliantly funny, and everybody watched him. And he said once, you'll end up using everything you have. Meaning, if you've got any kind of skill or any kind of ability or anything up your sleeve, you will end up using it. And I found that to be true. You end up using whatever is available to you when you have to do so much TV. So when there's so much product, you end up trying anything. And we're working in a bakery and we have to be open 24/7. You'll end up trying stuff like, I'll just throw a carrot in there and see what it'll sound, broth, if you will. And you end up trying things, and that's what we ended up doing. And our staff is there, and my assistant is this personality, and we were doing tons of hours of comedy without even realizing it. We have these long, insane conversations with each other, and then we realized, wait a minute, what if we put a camera on this? And the interesting thing about Sona, my assistant, if you've seen any of this stuff on YouTube, she doesn't change. She's always she is the same person. You can put a camera on her, you could put her in Wembley Stadium and have 75,000 people stare at her. She'll still act like Sona and then want to go get a grilled cheese sandwich afterwards, and go home to her husband. She's just that person. So we started using those people, and it's added a whole other layer. We ended up realizing we have this great resource, so we might as well use it. And we don't want to overdo it, but some of these people, I have a guy that works for me named Jordan Schlansky, who is, the idea that in this great historic hall that has seen like Churchill and Einstein and Malcolm X, the idea that the name Jordan Schlansky would be mentioned and get a round of applause is such a cosmic joke to me. It's such proof that it's a silly world we live in. He is that guy. He is that person. He's this weird, strange guy. I honestly don't know what he does on the show. Every time I ask him, he says, I have various tasks and duties. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, I attend to various, he keeps saying various, and then throwing other words in there, and I honestly don't know what he does. So we're very excited because you guys know the Property Brothers, those guys? Is that big over here? I don't know if you guys know them, but his office is a mess, and we brought these two huge YouTube stars in and surprised him with the Property Brothers. And they're these big stars, and we walk in, and I go, Jordan, look who's here to clean up your office. Doesn't even get up. Looks at them, and I went, Jordan, when people walk into the room, especially famous people, you should probably stand. And he went, their fame is of no consequence to me. They can come or they can leave. Just like we just surprised him with cameras. He had no idea we were coming. Most humans would react a little. He's a weird man, and we're maybe, I hope we're advancing the cure for something by putting him on TV.
You just mentioned Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you were a fan of him while growing up. What was it like to meet someone like that and realize that they're a fan of you too?
Well, he wasn't, so. I'm not kidding. He didn't really know me. I was brand new, and when I got my start in America, I was a complete unknown. I was a Simpsons writer, and they were looking for this big slot to fill. And today they would have thousands of qualified candidates because of YouTube and the internet. There's so many people. Everyone has 75 shows on Netflix, by the time they're in utero, and live from the womb, and so the idea that they would, if there was a giant opening for a show, if Stephen Colbert decided he was going to step down, there'd be a million, you'd know all the names of all the people who were probably going to replace him. And I had this very strange moment in time where it was pre-internet. So after Carson, I would say the biggest host was this guy, David Letterman, and he suddenly left, and there was a hole. And they said to my boss, my former boss at Saturday Night Live, can you find somebody to fill it? And he went, let me think. And then through a series of just crazy chances, he said, there's this writer I know with weird hair and a weird name who makes the other writers laugh. And they were like, well, does he do stand-up? No. Has he done anything? Not on camera. You're kidding, right? No, I think he might be good. And so they gave me a tryout, and I did really well at the tryout, and they gave me the show, and the entire United States said, who is this? What's a Conan? Who is this person? Seriously. And then for the first year I was on the air, I was never 1/10 as funny as I was on the audition, because it's one thing to audition for something you don't think you're going to get. So I walked into the audition, I'm like, I'm never getting this, and da-da-da. And back then, in the early 90s, that was funny. And but I just thought, I'm not getting this, and I was so relaxed that they said, this guy's got it.